Hi guys, thank you guys so much for joining me for this video today. So I'm going to do a little period pain flow. I'm doing good today. Ironically, just went for a run and started my cycle day one is the first day of the period, halfway through, so it turned into a really slow, gentle walk because any running was savagely hurting. So quite weirdly, I probably wouldn't normally do like high energetic run or anything this time of the month. Normally I don't even have to track it for that part to know that. I just don't really feel up for it, I can't really be asked. But obviously everything at the moment is slightly different, so it means I've got a little bit more energy than I probably would, being so slow most of the time and really slowing down the pace and everything like that has given me a little bit more energy. It's been nice to get out, but I knew, even before I went, I was like, I'm not going to have much energy here, but I went, that happened, here we are. So it works out quite well. Actually, I'm going to do this flow with you a little bit today while on the first day of my cycle. So before we start, I wanted to just go through a few little bits and bobs, don't get it tripping over my words here, a few little bits and bobs on how I track my cycle, sync with my cycle, and just understand it a little bit more. So there was a time, probably like a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, where I got really into learning about it. I came off any contraception and I wanted to be able to just track my cycle and know exactly when I would be ovulating and how I was going to feel when, because I really hated this idea of women and females, and especially young girls, being told or feeling like they're crazy or, oh, you're on your period, because of their period. And with the lack of education, I just hated that idea of being labelled or being told that I was a certain way, or you on, like, I just hate that so much. Actually, sometimes it's true, but I just wanted to understand it a little bit more and learn about it a bit more, and then I felt if I learnt about it and I knew about it, then I'd be able to deal with it a little bit more and do what I needed to do in the right times. So I came off the contraceptive pill because I didn't like the idea of any fake hormones being in my body. I felt really up and down, and I've been on it for about 10 years, and I just hated the idea of all those chemicals and hormones being in my body. It's completely up to you, and you don't have to come off of any kind of hormonal contraception to be able to track your cycle. It's just my personal decision. For me, it is the best decision I made, and I do feel that I understand it a little bit more. I feel a bit more connected with my body. That's through a lot of education as well. So my cycle is roughly about 27 days, but it can vary because I'm not on any contraception, from 32 days, which is quite rare, down to 24, which happens more often. And actually within the last few months, within like the last year, it's been getting a little bit shorter and shorter and shorter. I've been going from sort of 28 days to 27 days to 26 days. Sometimes I'm on 24 days. I'm like, just come off, like, give me a break. It really pisses me off when that happens, but I've just got to go with it. That's just part of tracking your cycle and not having anything to kind of dictate when you're going to be on. So I use a few different apps. I use an app called Clue, which you fill out every day, which I don't fill out every day. I kind of fill out for the 5 days I'm on, and then I fill out when I've got ovulating pains, because then that helps me to understand a little bit more about when I'm fertile, and then I kind of leave it again until the next cycle. So with me, I'm quite lucky because I always got ovulating pains quite savagely. I can feel them quite a lot, so I know when I'm fertile and I know how many days after. But I guess that's a time for a different video. Otherwise, I could be here for ages and ages and ages. So being able to come off of my pill unfortunately meant that I got period pains a little bit more intensely. For a couple months I wouldn't have them, and then I would, and while your body's having this time to adjust to not having the hormones in your body, or not having these fake hormones in your body, I would have sporadic months, whereas now I tend to get them really, really bad on day 1 and day 2, which is the first day of my period and the second day of my period. And so I used to kind of try and get away with not taking any tablets. I just don't really like it. But now I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I take the strongest period pain targeted tablets there are from Superdrug. I think they're Superdrugs are incredible. And we're in isolation and it's closed and I only have 2 left and I'm really worried. But this is not, you know, the yoga that we do is not an alternative medicine. It's not, let's, you know, breathe with the earth and sync with the blood of our cycle and you're going to be fine and everything's going to be amazing. It's just a really nice flow to do alongside if you feel up for it. Actually, a lot of the time when I'm on, I don't really feel up for moving my body very much, but it's nice to get low and slow when you're on. That's like the biggest part for me, is learning to not hate this time of my cycle and actually try and embrace it. They say that comes eventually, and definitely I'm not there yet, but really trying to embrace it, trying to get a little bit more cozy and aware. And so you can use that time on your mat to listen to how you're feeling. So if you're feeling really shit, your boyfriend's really pissing you off or your girlfriend's really pissing you off and you're just, everyone's really annoying you and you feel like you could cry over literally everything and you're feeling really rubbish, and which is how I will get, you might not necessarily, but that's how I get. A lot of the time if I don't have a mat to come to, then I'll take it out on my boyfriend, or I will be really shitty all day and I'll be, you know, I feel a bit with people at work, and I might feel like that a little bit anyway, even if I do the yoga, but coming onto my mat gives me a chance to be able to cry it out if I need to, scream it out if I need to into a pillow, cry, you know, well, cry out, I've already said that, but I will be crying a lot. And then you can do that with postures that help release that. So, you know, when we work with certain parts of the body, we're able to release that tension, let it go, cry through a hip opener, and do all these different things. So I stepped on my mat about a couple months ago, maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit more, when I was on and had really bad period pains, and I wanted to be able to move through these postures and understand a little bit more about what actually felt good. And it all was really quite similar throughout the whole flow. So I found like the same types of postures all felt really good, and another type of postures would feel really shit. So I wanted to be able to compile that into a video to be able for you to be able to use. So if you're feeling like you're on and you're just feeling a little bit down, because we tend to get a bit of a drop in our hormones, so you can come onto your mat, like take a bit of time, light a candle, put your PJs on, grab a cup of tea, glass of wine, whatever you need, and just lie there, cry it out, don't cry it out, do whatever you need to do, and then be able to move your body a little bit gently and softly, because this is a time to be gentle and slow, in postures that you already know feel good. Someone's already done it for you. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do. With regards to just kind of like other exercise throughout your cycle, I guess it's what feels good. So my life can be quite busy and I'm not always every day waking up being like, oh, you know, what day is it? It's day 11, that means I can do this type of exercise. Like my brain tries to work in that way, but it doesn't like it, and I can't stay on top of shit like that, I just can't. So, but really in the first kind of section of your cycle, and the week before you come on as well, so your luteal phase and your menstrual phase are supposed to be slow, restorative yoga, calming walks, nature. So once you come out of your period, you'll start to get a bit of a boost in estrogen, you'll feel really good, you'll start to get a little bit more energy. So that's the time, and then the week after that, when you're going through your fertile phase, which is really good for like weightlifting and high energy and dancing and going out and doing all those kind of rigorous exercises that make you feel a little bit more pumped, that get the energy flowing, the energy is already coming. You already feel like you want to move. You might, and actually if you don't do those things, you might feel that you get a bit antsy and you're like, oh, just like, you know, and this is where it can get really confusing, because I used to be a bit like, oh, like, you know, on day 14, it's supposed to be like a really good, you know, day of my cycle, I'm supposed to have loads of energy, but I just feel really shit. Because actually you'll find that you either need, that there's something that maybe you need to do to bring that out, or you'll find that say day 14 on every single cycle, once you start to track it, you'll know that you feel really shit on that one day, which is another really good benefit of tracking your cycle. But it's about your body and listening to your body and what feels good and how it feels good for you and how you want to move. And the more you learn about that and the more you connect with it and the more that you embrace it and try to move with it, then hopefully the better and more in balance you might start to feel. I don't follow it rigorously. Sometimes I'll be months and months and months and I haven't even entered whether I've been on my period or not. It's just about, you know, there might be a day where you think, oh, like I'll have a little look at my app and see where I am and see how I feel. Or I'll like be on Instagram. I follow quite a lot of different people who teach stuff like this, and I'm like, oh, like they're on day 14, I'm on day 14 too, and they're saying they feel like that, and like you can connect and you start to feel a little bit more like yourself and learn a little bit more and start to feel a little bit more human, and you can start to embrace the idea of being a woman. So I try and be quite open in talking about my period, even with people who might be a bit like, oh, like, ew, like, oh, it's great, like it's so taboo, but I'll try and be like, oh yeah, like, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm alright, and you on? So feeling a little bit shit. Just trying to like normalise it a little bit more, just for my own sanity, so that I don't feel, like it's an icky, disgusting thing. Like it's a really powerful thing for a woman to be able to embrace that. So that's what I try to do. But again, it's not all the time, and I just try my best. So that was a long ramble, so we're going to get on to doing a little bit of yoga. So I'm going to move the mat, move the camera, so feel free to put on any pyjamas or anything cozy and get really comfortable. It's not a huge rigorous flow, it's going to be really nice and restorative, so feel free to just set up your space and then we'll get right to it.